Dr. Shabir, welcome to Let the Quran Speak.
Pleasure to be on.
We are looking at how Muslims should approach Hadith, Dr. Shabir, and now we want to look at Hadith that predict the future. And to begin with, Dr. Shabir, maybe you can talk about why you find these Hadith problematic.
Yeah, and Safia, as you know, I always like to start, if you allow me, with the Quran, because somebody may think, well, wait a minute, why is he talking about Hadith? The Quran also talks about the future. Okay, so let's start there. Okay, so the Quran speaks about the future, but the statements in the Quran about the future are not problematic. Often because these are general, they're in a very general way, and because the Quran, after all, this is the word from Allah. For Muslims, this cannot be wrong, right? We might require some interpretation or whatever, but in any case,
if God says it, then it must be true, right? And God knows the future, right?
Exactly.
That's what Muslims understand. Yeah.
Yes. Now, when it comes to the Hadith predicting the future, it is dependent on the Prophet, peace be upon him, getting a revelation from Allah about that futuristic event, and it depends on people memorizing it exactly, because they may not have memorized it exactly. See, when something was being done on the ground, people can remember, we've been there, we've done that, right? But if the Prophet, peace be upon him, said something and it relates to some futuristic concept, then they have to imagine how it's going to be. Like if somebody says, in the old times, people tried to describe escalators that take you up. So they would have no imagination, like we're supposed to walk up the stairs. Like how does the stairs take you up without your walking? It's not going to register. So when you say something, it conjures up a certain imagery in the minds of people, and people might remember the imagery that they conjured up in their own minds rather than your specific wording. And then they will relate back that imagery, and then somebody else gets a different image, and then, it just multiplies from there. So there is an interesting hadith in which Hudayfa, one of the companions of the Prophet, peace be upon him, said that one day the Prophet, peace be upon him, gave a long lecture in which he detailed everything is going to happen until the day of judgment. Whoever remembered, remembered. Whoever forgot, forgot. But when something happens, I remember that this is exactly what the Prophet, peace be upon him, said. Now, you see, this narrative, actually, if you analyze this from an academic point of view, you realize that what's happening here is that Hudayfa is in a situation where people have actually forgotten what the Prophet, peace be upon him, supposedly said. And so Hudayfa is saying, whoever remembers, remembers, whoever forgot, forgot. Okay, so Hudayfa hopefully is one of those persons who remembers, right? But even he is saying that it's when the thing happens, that's when he realizes that this is what the Prophet, peace be upon him, had said. So it could be also that the events as they unfolded are, tainting the memories of people without their being conscious of that. This is just simply how human psychology works. But let's get more to the matters at hand. The Quran mentions a beast that will arise from the earth and speak to people. Now, should this be taken literally, figuratively? Who is this beast? No great description is given. In fact, no description other than it will speak. And it's called a beast from the earth. So we don't know. We just say, okay, we don't know. The Quran speaks about Ya'juj and Ma'juj. And a time will come when they will come down from every high place. And they will descend on the people. Okay, so Ya'juj and Ma'juj, but we don't know that much more about them. They're mentioned in the story of Dhul Qarnayn. Dhul Qarnayn built a wall to stave them off. But where is that wall, and how many people were there? Are they the same people who will be called Ya'juj and Ma'juj when they come in, the futuristic people? All of these details are missing from the Quran. So a Muslim can read the Quran and come away with it and say, yeah, something interesting there about Ya'juj and Ma'juj. I'm curious, but the answer is not in the Quran. And so, because the Quran does not give a definitive answer, the Quran's answer cannot be wrong or proven to be wrong. Okay, now we come to the Hadith. We find that in these areas, there are great difficulties. For example, in the Hadith regarding Ya'juj and Ma'juj, it is said that after Sulaiman alayhi salam built this wall, Sulaiman, peace be upon him, built this wall to stave them off, they've been trying to puncture the wall. So they would come in the morning and they would be drilling and drilling, but before they could finish the job and make the hole complete, it will be dusk, and then they will say, okay, let's come back and finish the job tomorrow. But when they come back the next day, they will find it miraculously restored to its original. So they have to start the drilling process all over again. But a time will come when, in fact, they will complete the drilling. And in fact, there's a hadith that says that, the piercing has already occurred. So now, this leads Muslims to think, like, where is the wall? Where exactly? Where on the earth it must be? And it must hold like a whole lot of people, right? So the problem is in the hadith description, not in the Quranic description. Now, so in taking a balanced approach to hadith, we should be aware that if we burden the Muslim youth with believing all of these narratives, it becomes too much for people. So there are different reactions. Some people cut and run. They say this religion is too much for me. It's not because the practices are too much, it's because the beliefs are too much. And we should watch for that, because the beliefs are more important than the practices. A person might be failing in their practice, but they still hold their relations to Islam. They firmly are convinced that this is the truth. And this is where we need to leave it. And these hadiths are actually very challenging for people to hold on to that conviction. Now, there is no mention of the Dajjal or the Antichrist in the Quran. There's a mention of the Christ, the true Christ, the Jesus on whom be peace. But there's no mention of the Dajjal, the Al-Masih al-Dajjal that is mentioned in Hadith, the Antichrist. Yet the Hadiths which are mentioned, the Dajjal, are problematic. There are several issues with them. One issue is that there is a Hadith that seems to run counter to the rest of hadiths. The hadiths in general about this subject speak about a person who will be born in the future. Descriptions are given like of his parents, his name, and the parents' name, and so on. This person will have amazing powers. He will travel the world like in 40 days. Like could be in one continent in the morning, another one in the evening, and so on. He will be blinded in one eye, and all of this. Okay. And believers will be able to see kaf, fa, ra written on his forehead, which spell kufr or kafir, which will make them aware right away, this is a non-believer, we can't follow him. He will have with him a paradise and a hell. But on the outside, the paradise looks like hell, and on the outside, the hell looks like paradise. So those who believe in him will jump into what they think to be paradise, only to find that it's hell inside. And those who disbelieve him will be thrown into what looks like hell on the outside, but turns out to be paradise for these good believers, right? Those who really believe in God and refuse belief in this Dajjal. You can see this is not an ordinary individual. Yet it is mentioned that there was a certain Jewish boy who is known in the Hadith as Ibn Sayyad, maybe the son of the hunter or son of the fisherman. So Ibn Sayyad apparently had some psychic powers. And so the companions of the Prophet, peace be upon him, were watchful of him, thinking that he is the Dajjal, this Antichrist. And the hadiths involve the Prophet, peace be upon him, also like going through the routines of trying to find out, is he or like, what is he? So the Prophet, peace be upon him, according to a hadith, hid behind a tree to hear what this guy will murmur when he is under his blanket. And confronted him, and then he told him, no, he's not the one, which would seem to mean that the Prophet, peace be upon him, is not being guided in such an important matter he's trying to observe. And why would this even be a question if the other narratives are so true that the Dajjal is going to be somebody that's going to be born in the future? Now, to complicate matters, there is a hadith that is in Sahih Muslim that says that a certain Christian who converted to Islam related to the Prophet, peace be upon him, that he had been to a remote island where he saw the Dajjal, the Antichrist, chained up and waiting and ready to be unleashed into the world. And the Prophet, peace be upon him, called him to witness, and he called the companions of together into the mosque to let them hear this testimony, which, according to the Prophet, peace be upon him, confirms what he has already been telling them. This one runs contrary to the rest, because the rest show that the Dajjal is going to be someone born in the future. And according to this narrative, this Dajjal was already there, but chained up in a cave. So you see, these are very problematic narratives. And we come back thinking that we must take a balanced approach to hadith. You can't just simply say to the youth, take all of these. Otherwise, the youth are going crazy with this. Which one are they supposed to believe? And how can they put all of these pieces together that do not fit together?
All right, we'll leave it at that. Thank you, Dr. Shabir.
You're welcome.
Assalamu alaikum.
We have some exciting news to share with you.
As you know, Let the Quran Speak has been on TV screens and social media for 22 years.
We've been reaching people all around the world, spreading positivity and good, and helping people experience the beauty of Islam and the accomplishments of Muslims.
We've been shooting in this very space for the past 2 decades.
And now, with the help of Allah, we're about to get the keys to Muslim Media Hub.
If you like what we're doing, you're gonna love Muslim Media Hub even more.
Because it's the next step up.
Think new TV shows, podcasts, social media content, and films.
It will have new talent, more youth, and a lot more space and resources to do what we love. Spread the message of Allah.
Our Muslim Media Hub costs $2.4 million.
We must close on this building on October 16, and for that, we need to raise $300,000.
How will we raise $300,000?
Easy, Safiya. All we need is 300 people to give $1,000 each.
If you can be one of this select 300, that's fantastic.
Otherwise, please give whatever you can. Every dollar counts.
It's our collective responsibility to share the message of Islam with our fellow human beings. Please help establish Muslim Media Hub so we can do this.
It's a sadaqah jariyah, something that will continue to be of benefit to the Muslim community long after we are gone.
Thank you, and may Allah bless you and your loved ones today and always.
Assalamu alaikum.